So let's learn how to start writing a song. Hello, I am Emma Mae. I am a singer-songwriter. I've been releasing music since 2019. My first single was called Fuckboy, and that's how I learned how not to market things. And since then, I've released a few singles, been on BBC Introducing a few times, been playing around London quite a lot, and I won an Aux Award. I did, hey! We love that. It's on my window ledge. But yeah, so that's me. First off, I just want to say thanks to Aux for having me. Thanks guys. Make sure you check out Aux.App if you're someone who deals in audio and wants to learn how to collaborate more effectively. In this video, I am going to be talking about my songwriting process. I'm just going to be covering coming up with ideas, coming up with lyric ideas, stylizing, conceptualizing, and I just sort of want to say that obviously everyone writes songs differently. This is not me telling you how to do it. There's no correct way. So coming up with ideas can be kind of tough sometimes. Sometimes it comes really quickly, sometimes it doesn't. That's fine. You're allowed to take your time. Sometimes you feel you need to write something as therapy, or sometimes you have no idea what you're writing until you sit down to start. And I've written in many ways through many ideas before. I mean, I feel like all my songs have come out half decently. So I guess I'm like qualified to talk about this. So that's what we're gonna do. To demonstrate this process, I'm going to write a song. So coming up with ideas can be slightly tricky. I tend to write things as therapy, not because I need to, well, I probably do, but that's not the point. Basically, the reason you write things is quite important as well. So making sure that you're writing something that you can connect with probably means other people can connect with it too, and that's the key to a good song. So those of you who know me will know the kind of music that I make, and those of you who don't are about to find out. I call it bitch pop. Bitch pop is basically a rip-off of what Taylor Swift used to do, but with my own spin on it. So it's very satirical, it's very personal, but like in a you're making it funny kind of way, and it's also just basically straight up pop. A little bit edgy sometimes because, you know, you've got to get that anger across. But basically, bitch pop is bitter, mean pop about my exes. And when I say exes, it's about one person mostly, but we'll move past that. So, my concept. Let's come up with one off the top of my head. All right, so here's a story. About a year ago, I met a man. It was going fairly well, as it always does. And then instead of just the usual it falling apart, he left the country, which was great. But it's funny, and we're gonna write a song about it. So let's say you've come up with a concept for your song. The next bit is fairly straightforward. I split it into coming up with the themes based within that concept, coming up with the lyrics that fit within that theme, and then stylizing the whole thing, as in figuring out how you want it to sound based on the concept, the lyrics, the ideas, and all of that stuff. So it all comes together, hopefully, as not a complete turd. So, so the theme is being left in England, being dumped. Heartbreak, no, it wasn't really heartbreak, but we'll exaggerate. Being slightly bitter, which is very me. And the whole sort of like, what if he didn't leave the country situation. This is gonna get really deep, guys, by the way. Drawing on personal experiences is obviously everyone's inspiration when songwriting. Not everyone does it. Sometimes you can make things up from scratch. I've made songs up that have nothing to do with anything before, but I don't connect to them as much. So I think it's, in this case, funnier, but often just better if some songs have some semblance of the truth within them, because then they can be more relatable. And you know, relatability gets you streams and blah, 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 blah. There's your themes. Come up with them, write them down if you want to. And then lyrics. Lyrics are next. Within the themes, how do I come up with some lyrics that make it very obvious what I'm talking about, tell a straightforward story and sort of just make it all coherent in a nice little package instead of one of those vague Ten a Penny songs that you don't really know what it's about. I feel like that was really offensive to some people. Whoops. Let's start with the title, as I often do. I've got a lovely little screenshot somewhere of my producer sending me a song back to me with the subject in an email, "Fuck your long titles," because I always make my titles too long. For example, I Should Sell My Story to a TV Network, Jude Law Made Me Believe in Love, and this one, which is going to be called All My Boyfriends Leave the Country. So you've got the title, then you can sort of come up with some themes and ideas within that. So I firmly believe the lyrics should tell a story from start to finish. You need build up, you need a climax, you need an end, whether it's a happy end, I don't really care. It's usually not, but that's fine. It needs to tell a story and have a message. Otherwise, like, I mean, you can write songs about yellow submarines or whatever, but like, it doesn't need to have a point, but it's more satisfying if it does, to me. For this song, I'm gonna tell the story from start to finish of what happened to me and him, to right now, here, in this very moment, and hopefully come up with the conclusion that people suck and the good ones often leave you. So, boyfriends. People can probably relate to this. Being cheated on, or having someone like ghost you, or I don't know, be seeing a guy and then he moves in with his girlfriend and they have a cat. Stuff like that. It's very relatable, I'm sure. He was short. I know that's a bit mean to say, but like, I'm 5'3" and I notice when people are short. And so all of that stuff, I'm going to sort of funnel into this one. It's a complete exaggeration of what happened with the guy who moved to continental Europe, but that's not the point. But yeah, no, we're talking about a song, not my life and mental health core. And this sort of brings us to like stylizing the song. When you come to this point and you know what it's going to be about and you know the story, you need to stylize it. So what's it going to sound like? All of the rambling that has just happened and all of the nonsense that's in your head or written down on a page in front of you creates a vibe, and you can probably already feel the vibe, and then you need to translate that vibe into sound, which I sucked at until about 2 years ago. So if you suck, it's fine. The way I want it to sound is always sort of there, but if something else comes out like whilst I'm writing, so I just write with a guitar basically. So even though I've stylized it and I want it to sound a certain way in my head, I sort of just use that as a framework rather than letting it like constrict what I can actually do during the process. But if you can't already feel the vibe of your song and you can't already sort of hear what it feels like, if that makes sense, then you probably need to rethink your themes and like narrow it a little bit so it's actually going somewhere. So obviously this song is like mostly fairly bitter, so it needs to sound bitter. It needs to sound a little cheeky and a little bit like sarcastic. I mean, I'm literally calling out everyone I've ever had a romantic connection with at this point, so it's got to reflect that in the sound. Melody-wise and lyric-wise, I think for this one particularly, the lyrics telling the story need to take precedence and not be too distracted by any like crazy runs or whatever. So the story is sort of the most important part of this particular song. And like music-wise, like we said, cheeky and a bit bouncy maybe, and it's a bit like, oh well, you know, like that's life. C'est la vie. Pop is gonna work for this one. You can frame like these ideas in this sort of structure of like conceptualization in any genre and in any style. There's even like an art to making songs sound the opposite of what they're actually about. So like all the really happy sounding songs in like pop punk that are really about like wanting to off yourself, that kind of stuff. I've done it before, not about offing myself, but like that kind of thing is artful. Maybe don't write songs about death because like there's too many already. So we're doing a straightforward bitch pop song. At that point, that's pretty much it for the start of the process before you actually start writing it. I haven't even picked up a guitar yet. The entire process that I've just explained can sort of happen in like seconds in your brain. Some of my songs come in seconds, some take months, and I'm like, I really need to write that, but it's not ready yet. To me, it's just about thinking up something whole that feels like complete. To recap, you create the concept. You come up with the ideas within that concept. You come up with some lyric ideas based on the concept, and then throwing all that together, you figure out what you want it to sound like. Hopefully those ideas will fit into it all, and we'll have, in about 4 videos time, a complete song. I will see you in the next video, where I will be putting all of that into music. Thank you for watching me ramble for however long it's been. Let me know in the comments what you think of this video. Head to Aux.App for more information on what they do. Make sure you check out the other videos in this series and all of the other videos on the Aux channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Do it now.